misappropriation of shadow cabal funds, and signed up to his patron in order to bug him and ask him a question. Now each month you have up until 3 hours before the thing to submit the question via the patron to get it in there. And I was already too late for that. But you can wave your flag as having become a patron, and in the unlisted live stream that you get a link to on the patron page, you can go in there and then say you're a patron and ask a question. And Dolly came in there and she asked a banger. And apparently there was some misunderstandings. And Dolly, we love you. We always loved you. We didn't mean to hurt any feelings. We're so sorry. And but you asked a banger of a question in this Q&A. And I've called in some favors. We'll see what happens. But I too managed to land a question in this fancy pants John Vervaeke Q&A. And the reaction I got to this question, ladies and gentlemen, is something I would like you to analyze, like with a fine-tooth comb. And wow. All right then. So without further ado, here is as it was, despite being the first question in the chat, it was about the fourth question presented to him as being from the chat. And here it is now for you to analyze with the fine-tooth comb. Please note anything that stands out to your salient landscaper in the hive mind, and also repeated in the comments for the people watching the replay, because this is like, let's do it live. There's reasons you don't, and they may be in this footage I present to you now.
Practicing Transcendence, Axial Age Spirituality for a World in Crisis, which I think would be an excellent book. So if you start with those two books, and then there's a great anthology, What is Axial, about the Axial Age. I would read the two books first in that order. Read The Great Transformation by Karen Armstrong. Read Practicing Transcendence by Christopher Peet, P-E-E-T, Christopher Peet. And then What is Axial, about the Axial Revolution. It's actually, I'm trying to remember who it's edited by. It's a very good anthology. And there's an essay entitled that, What is Axial, about the Axial Age Revolution, which is also a very good place to start. So Jonas, I hope that's helpful to you. Now we move to Griswold Grimm. Grizz, it was great meeting you at the conference. Really great meeting you at the conference. Thank you for being here. Fringe networking and the symphony harmonics of small world networking. Is you and Chino and at the monastery how we connect subcultures to the radical as our offstage question at Chino? Yeah, I think so. So you're mentioning that. Yeah, you're mentioning that. Yes. So yeah, that networking, Fringe networking, synchrony harmonics of small world networking. Yeah, that you and I talked about. So the networking that was going on there and at the monastery, yes, this is integral to to this, all the project I've been talking about. I'm hesitating because, I mean, most of this has to happen virtually, but a lot of it has to happen personally and off screen in order for the networks to come to life. And I'm bumping up against my ignorance here about, like, I don't know what the proper ratio is, what the proper proportioning of those is to give a more refined answer to your question. But I ask other people to think about it, other people who probably have more expertise than I do. Like, how do we figure out, because we can't we're going to have to rely on the virtual, but we need the in-person, the interperson, and the off-screen, excuse me, to that plays an indispensable, maybe even an essential role. So, yeah, getting that balance is really important. If people could start a discussion about that, and we could start thinking about how to make that work, and possibly integrate it with some of the work that Daniel Schmachtenberger is doing, I think that would, I think that would be good. Thank you for your question, Grizz. Really good meeting you, by the way, in person. Next question.
So I know I left a lot of front end there of the book sales because like once upon a time there was this thing called the Science Fiction Book Club that would send you a book every month, and there's no reason that he doesn't do one of those that like sends you a book every week and a half, right? Because there's the foundation is missing something there. And speaking of which, why doesn't Mo have someone from the Vervaeke Foundation on, and they can compare the size of their foundation e-peens or something? But more importantly, what did you make of his response to that? Once they released the official, well, no, maybe even before, over on the Broken Clock Tower Discord, I might give you a place where you can find the spot to that in the Q&A. They consistently release. So and you can take a closer analysis or watch this replay over and over again. But that response seemed, well, first of all, terribly insufficient for what I was hoping for. But secondly, really kind of weird, right? Like body language and the physiological response. Like you could say that, sure, oh, he just happened to cough, whatever. But was that a blue chakra blockage? I don't know. Um, so I'm curious what your thoughts on that reaction were, but in order to adequately answer the what I was hoping to get out of the question, I have to go way back and find the thing. And now my initial attempts to go find the thing or to use this beautiful project of Ryan Lewis's called this-little-corner.com, right? And I could look up the small world network thing, but then I realized, like, because you can sort by relevance and it won't bring up nothing but me, right? But that full face. Maybe it was this one actually. Yes, maybe this actually worked out because Paul aired it. See, I ran into the problem that the actual discussions weren't on here in the fancy all channels list, because they're way over here on this consciousness and conscious page that doesn't seem to be included in the all channels. But since the power of this device that Ryan Lewis made is so awesome, it looks like they are in here. Let's see about we talk. Perhaps it's this spot around here. No.
Being undermined by a lot of current work, which is an anatomical localization model of cognitive function, which has been dealt some pretty devastating blows by the work of Michael Anderson after phrenology, a lot of other people, and and also the incredible failure rate of trying to find the the neural correlative consciousness as an anatomical region. And so most people have given up on that and have moved towards, can we look for sort of scale invariant functionality, self-organizing criticality, small world network formation, as a way of trying to track consciousness, as opposed to looking.
So he says as a way of trying to track consciousness. I'm trying to track meta consciousness on the level with which we summon beholders and stuff, and so it maps Like this metaphor maps well. If this is the right part, he'll go into the sands of the hourglass part. We'll see. We'll see.
For neuroanatomical locations, which I think both the empirical evidence and the theoretical argument has pretty much devastated and undermined. And so, and I'm not casting dispersion on Torres, but I'm just like, the way he was looking is still out of that framework. And so, and again, I'm not trying to be dismissive, but I would sort of say, well, of course you're not going to find it looking that way, because and that doesn't mean that, oh, there's something spooky going on. It just means there is a fundamental mistake in your framework that will preclude you from finding what you're looking for. It's like the drunk person who looks for the keys under the light that they lost in the dark parking lot. Well, why are you looking there? Well, I can see better. No, but that's not the point. You have to go where the phenomena is in the right way. So, I mean, that was one of my initial response to that. It was like, although his attempt to apply it to all physical things, he's going to have to modify it. I'll just leave it at that. I won't get into the details. The point is, so you have a column of sand falling, and it will form a mound. And the idea is, well, nobody does it. Nobody's going in and, like, there's no little gremlins or leprechauns. Well, what's happened? Well, you have a set of constraints. You have friction and gravity and spatial location. And what that does is it self-organizes, and you get a structure emerging, right? But then at some point, the structure goes critical. The structure can't actually maintain its own growth.
And at this point, this is the point. This maps to what we're calling the monoculture. Okay, everybody on board?
And what you see in the sand pile is it avalanches. And what happens is that's an increase in entropy. The mutual predictability between the sand particles drops. It goes, right? Now, if there's too much criticality, it breaks. But if there's not, what happens is the avalanche spreads the sand out, and now a bigger base starts to emerge, and it can go higher than it could before. So it cycles between, right?
So this bit here.
If there's not, what happens is the avalanche spreads the sand out, and now a bigger base starts to emerge, and it can go higher than it could.
Now, when I pulled him aside at Chino, the question that you saw in my last live stream that I actually asked Pajot, right? What the question I intended to ask him was about this sort of thing, and it relates to what I ended up asking him in this bit here. Let me find you here. Let me run some branding. and find you something. Okay, so
Strong. Read Practicing Transcendence by Christopher Peet, P-E-E-T, Christopher, edited by, it's an essay entitled Start. Now we move to Griswold Grimm. Grizz, it was great meeting you at the conference.
You too, John. You too.
Really great meeting you at the conference. Thank you for being here. Fringe networking and the symphony harmonics of small world networking.
Synchrony harmonics
is you and Chino and at the monastery how we connect subcultures to the radical as our offstage question at Chino. Yeah, I think so.
Through the radical, John. Through the radical. Okay, so let's I'll at least give you guys some into space to listen to in the background for this part. Let's see, present, stop that screen, present the share screen, but this time it's a window and it's the paint. Okay, so now, over here, we're talking about how the monoculture has become this sand pile, which has become too big and collapsed into all these little sand piles, right? And when we talk, if I went to the right part in that in the consciousness and congressness conference, he talks about the part where it forms the new base upon which the sand grows to even bigger and better place is a matter of synchrony among the bases. And so my question to him was that, like, when he goes to Chino and then when he goes to a monastery, is not when at the Chino conference, he pointed out the definition of radical as a return to the origin. And so this would be a radical transformation because it goes through the origin. And so my question to him, I was trying to ask, was him going to the monastery and whatnot arranges the synchrony among the various subcultures that allow for the new base to form in the small world networking model he discusses. And so, but I don't know if he got that out of, because that's kind of what we went over. That was basically what he showed me on the floor of the auditorium at the Crosspoint Church, in answer to what I was hoping he could bring that into our public discussion, but instead we got this here.
So you're mentioning that. Yeah, you're mentioning.
Also, please draw 6 underlines under the Freudian slip of the tongue right here.
And at the monastery, how we connect subcultures to the radical as our offstage question at Chino. Yeah, I think so. So you're mentioning that. Yeah, you're mentioning that. Yes. So, yeah, that networking, Fringe networking, Synchrony, Harmonics, a small world networking. Yeah, that you and I talked about. So the networking that was going on there and at the monastery. Yes, that this is integral to.
Because I am me, I now have to stop and find something else.
Don't worry, Mom. I know all about cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
See? It's okay. We saw it on the television.
All right. I got wonderful and terrible news. The last time that the last time I was able to find and share what I needed to just find and share was when I dug it up for CW. And the thing I was trying to find and share with you was how the what I refer to as the unapologetic Christianity in the Gospel of Thomas lecture that bald guy gave to that one group. Unfortunately, as it's currently stored as that bald guy, which he might not be, gave to that one group, and also only as the unapologetic Christian thing, which is not at all in my head or in the search terms for the actual thing. I can't find it. I can't find it. However, Michael's coming in with some, Mike is coming in with some good stuff. John points at the proportions, and they must be the bridging and the natural. I did want to I do want to go over some of his response in a second. This is why the Stoa people are simultaneously grappling with egregores and Daniel's work. How is what's the difference between an egregore and Daniel's work in that context? Mike, come on now. And this is like probably comment level stuff, don't you think? What the grappling? See this. Let me get to the thing he says here. Hold on.
The monastery, yes, this is integral to like to this all the project I've been talking about.
I can't say if I'd say it's. Dude, I am not also a member of the Sacred Order of Foolish Transparency, Grizz. I just can't say the stuff out loud. And this is integral, and therefore, if I say it out loud, it might be sabotaged. You understand who I'm working with and for, right? Don't you? So I can't really talk about this here. How dare you, sir? How dare you mentioning this? How dare you?
I'm hesitating because I mean most of this has to happen virtually, but a lot of it has to happen personally and off screen in order for the networks to come to life.
What does it take for anything to come to life? How could you tell when Frankenstein's monster rose up from the chair? It's because it's the breath of life. And it's the thing that we share other than dreams. Villages breed heroes who venture forth and make a Camelot. Camelot. And the Camelot goes forth to the villages, arranges the Synchrony, and then whoolah! Whoolah! Remember, LARP gates changed years on Talk Like a Pirate Day. And so we really got to get something ready for September soon. We got like Jerusalem in February, which means I got to get right with the government so I can get one of them real IDs and the passport and nonsense like that. But and then we got the eclipse in April. There's something in Washington D.C. going on with Pastor Paul. It's not apparently officially coroner official. I don't know what's what. We need the IMDb of the coroner. Which reminds me, I'm trying to sync together K.O. Zeldin and Justin Welsh, the documentarian, and I'm also supposed to be working with Justin on the side. So like things are rolling now that we've had this thing, but this part where he's talking about the ratio relational, whatever, right? It's like breathing. It's like breathing.
And I'm bumping up against my ignorance here about, like, I don't know what the proper ratio is, what the proper proportioning of those is to give a more refined answer to your question. But I ask other people to think about it, other people who probably have more expertise than I do.
So this part, ladies and gentlemen, that thing he just said right there, that's well, that's not why it's called hot water grifting. The hot water grift is because I don't have any hot water. And like, if you would like to help me pay for a technician to help install this, there's a link in the Hive Mind chat, and or in the description. You could buy Shadow Cabal hoodies that look really great, like this one. But the part that says the INVOKIO of Cognitio, that this is him doing that right there. That's why I called it that.
Is to give a more refined answer to your question. But I ask other people to think about it, other people who probably have more expertise than I do. Like, how do we figure out, because we're going to have to rely on the virtual, but we need the in-person, the interperson, and the off-screen, that plays an indispensable, maybe even an essential role. So yeah, getting that balance is really important. If people could start a discussion about that, and we could start thinking about how to make that work, and possibly integrate it with some of the work that Daniel Schmachtenberger is doing, I think that would.
All right. What do you want us to work with that Burning Man? I mean, fella on. I mean, what worked the reconciliation project thing? Oh boy, howdy. You know, Gavin tried really hard to work with Daniel on that, and look how that went. So I think it's up to Daniel's people to come to us at this point as a part of the greater. And I don't know where in the Q&A he did it, but somewhere in the Q&A that he dubbed us the greater. It's in there. Find it. I don't know. The transcript's not up yet.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Thank you for your question, Grizz. Really good meeting you, by the way, in person.
Dude, it rocked my world. I completely understand how it was that in my timeline he became a philosopher king. Oh, here's some more of this other part in case that closes the cognitive loop for some of you. I hear people like their cognitive loops closed.
Before. So it cycles between, right? It's self-organizing, and then the criticality means it can transcend as it self-organizes. And what you can look at in the brain is you can look at the part that corresponds to the mound being formed. Neurons they will fire in synchrony together, and when they're firing in synchrony together, that tends to correspond when you get a gestalt in aha, right? And then what they do is they break apart and they fire asynchronously. The entropy goes up, and that allows a new synchrony to form. And then they break apart, and a new synchrony, and it oscillates. And this is at many levels of analysis, between small groups of neurons all the way up to the entire brain. And what that is doing, I argue and have argued and published, is what that corresponds to frame making and frame breaking in insight. And Stefan and Dixon, for example, have measured entropy when you're going through an aha moment, and that's what happens. You're at this level, and then the entropy really increases, and then you drop to a level that's even more highly ordered in your behavior than before the insight. So you can